Good day. So this would be the discussion about the DNA, the blueprint of life, under your module 3.1. On your lesson 1, it's all about the components of the DNA. But before we proceed to the different components, let us have a brief discussion. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, wherein it was first discovered by Friedrich Mischer in the late 1800s, followed by the works of James Watson and Francis Crick in the year 1953. They made an important discovery of the DNA model or structure. This was made possible because of the work of Rosalind Franklin, who used an X-ray diffraction photographs for studying and building their models for these molecules. Her findings were only acknowledged after her death. When we define your deoxyribonucleic acid, it's simply defined as a biomolecule that contains biological instructions or code which make each individual's or species unique. This DNA was first discovered and identified inside the nucleus, but in the later discovery or findings of the different scientists, they find out that are the DNA are present in the cytoplasm of the cell. This DNA can be passed on from the parents to the offspring during their reproduction. So DNA is made up of subunits called nucleotides. Nucleotide is made up of phosphate group, a 5-carbon sugar or known as the pentose sugar, and the nitrogenous base. What does nucleotide looks like? So nucleotide looks like this. So these three composition made or compose a nucleotide which known as a monomer of nucleic acid. So this one would be the phosphate group. This one is the pentose sugar or the 5-carbon sugar and the nitrogen base or N base. So those numbers represents the position of the carbon of the sugar. Okay. So nitrogenous base has four types. We have your adenine, which is denoted as capital A. You have thymine, which is denoted as capital T. Guanine, which is denoted as capital G. And cytosine, which is denoted as capital C. So those are the codes or the instruction given by this DNA. Take note that the sequence ATCGTT or adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, thymine, and thymine might code or instruct for blue eyes, while your adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine might instruct or these are the code for having a brown eyes. Okay, so what does the structure of DNA looks like? So this DNA structure is known as the double helix, just like what I have told you a while ago. James Crick and Watson discovered this model. So in order for you to have an idea, you just have to think of a ladder wherein it is being twisted, just like what we have in this one. So DNA, since it has a monomer of a nucleotide, which is composed of an alternating sugar and phosphate. So this is the strand for your sugar and phosphate group, and then the ones in the middle or the steps, those are known as the pair of nitrogen bases. So side of the ladder, again, that is made or composed of sugar, alternating sugar and phosphate. And then for each step or rung of the ladder, that is composed of a nitrogen base paired together by a hydrogen bonds. So again, for the structure of DNA, this is known as the double helix structure or also known as the twisted ladder. Okay, DNA or types, there are two types of nitrogenous base. So The two types of this nitrogenous base is known as purine and pyrimidines. Purine contains two carbon-nitrogen rings and four nitrogen atoms, while your pyrimidine contains one carbon-nitrogen ring and atoms and two nitrogen atoms. Under purine, we have two nitrogen base. These are adenine and guanine. So again, they have two carbon nitrogen rings, so you have one and two, just like this one. While your pyrimidine, it has thymine and cytosine, which makes up of one carbon nitrogen, one nitrogen ring and two nitrogen atoms. So the rules for nitrogenous base pairing. So we have purine will always be paired with pyrimidines. So purine has a nitrogen base which is adenine, which will be paired with a pyrimidine which is known as thymine. So adenine will be paired to thymine while guanine will be paired to cytosine. Okay. So for this one, since you already know the history and then the structure of the DNA, you can now answer your activity 1 under lesson 1 on your module 3.1, which has a title of making DNA helix model. For the instruction in making the model, you just have to refer, okay, to your module. That would be on pages 5 and 6. Okay, so let us continue. Lesson 2. Under your lesson 2, it is all about the location of the genes in the chromosomes. So, but before that, you just have to fill in the activity under what's in. So, for letter A, you just have to identify the different structures of the DNA, just like what we have discussed a while ago. So this one, this three structure is known as your nucleotide, which is, okay, are composed of. This one would be your phosphate group. This one is your 5-carbon ring or the pentose sugar, while this one is your nitrogen base. Okay, for B, you just have to write the correct nitrogen base pairing rule. Again, so we said that in your base pair rule, purine will be paired with pyrimidine. So adenine will be paired with thymine, while your guanine will be paired to cytosine. Okay, for lesson number 2, let's start our discussion. So take note that genes are not just found in humans. Okay, because all animals and plants have genes. That's why all of them have their own DNA. So you already have an idea, or you already know that each of our fingerprints are different from one another, which makes us unique individual. Hey, so where are these genes located? So genes can be found on a spaghetti-like or tiny spaghetti-like structure called the chromosome. So this one is your chromosome. In your chromosomes can be found inside the cell. So to be specific, so this chromosome can be found inside the cell. Then just like what I have told you a while ago, these chromosomes can be found inside the nucleus. Okay. So cells are the very small unit. So we know that cell is the basic unit of life. So all of the animals and plants have their own cells. Okay, it might be a plant cell or an animal cell depending on the organism. Okay, so most cells have one nucleus. And we said that the nucleus is responsible or act as the brain of the cell, wherein it is the one who tell, okay, to the different parts of the cell on what to do. Okay, because it serves as the brain of the cell. Okay, how does the nucleus know so much? Because it contains our chromosomes and the genes. And we said a while ago that your genes and the DNA rather are the one who give us codes or instruction in order for us to be unique. So take note, even if it is tiny or small, the nucleus has more information to be coded, okay, for us to become a unique species. So as you can see here, when we locate, again, your genes or your structures, this would be the cell. Inside the cell, you can find the brain of the cell known as your nucleus. Inside the nucleus, you can find here the chromosomes, wherein this chromosome is made up of DNA, nucleic acid. In your nucleic acid, when we look or enlarge this part of the chromosome, you can see that here in this double helix strand, you can see here the genes. These are the codes, just like what I have given you a while ago. So these are the genes or the codes that would be coded. Okay? And then each gene or each DNA has a monomer known as your nucleotide, which has three parts or composed of three parts. You have your nitrogen base, your pentose sugar, and the phosphate group. Your nucleus base pair is known as your guanine, your cytosine, adenine, and thymine. Okay, so that would be the location of the genes. So we have two types of chromosomes. These are known as the somatic and your sex chromosomes. So these chromosomes, I know you already discussed this one during your grade 8. So ano daw ba yung autosomal? When we talk about autosomals, these are the genes that carries the different codes passed on by your parents. Unlike your sex chromosomes, that's why it is called sex chromosomes, because they carry the gene for the gender of the species. So in humans, all in all, we have 44 somatic chromosomes and then 2 sex chromosomes. So which means yung 44 somatic chromosomes or your autosomas, we have 22 pairs. And then si sex chromosomes, you have 1 pair. So all in all, you have 46 individual chromosomes or 23 pairs of these chromosomes. Okay. Take note that half of these chromosomes came from your father and then the other half came from your mother. Okay. And then we know that the gender came from your father. So, nanggagaling kay tatay yung pinaka-gender para kay lalaki. Okay. So, in our next topic, you will find out why is that. Okay. So, since we're already done locating the different genes in your body, I want you to answer your lesson 2, activity 2 on your module 3.1. So, no need for you to um, make the model. You just have to refer to the picture in your module, then answer questions 1 to 3 and the critical questions 1 to 3 also. After doing that, you just have to answer on page 9 what I have learned. Then afterwards, answer the assessment part of your module. So I hope this video is a big help or can be useful in order for you to better understand our topic. So see you on our next video lesson.